Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're jumping into some really profound ideas from Alfred Adler, mainly through the lens of that book, The Courage to be Disliked.
Yeah. It's structured as this dialogue, right, between a philosopher and a young man. Really gets you thinking.
Absolutely. And we've pulled out some key bits from those conversations.
Yeah, the goal here for you listening is really to unpack Adler's core concepts. Stuff about happiness, relationships, self-acceptance.
Getting to the heart of his perspective.
Exactly. Helping you see how these ideas might shift things.
Okay, let's get straight into it. The first night in the book, it really challenges a common assumption, doesn't it?
It really does. This whole idea that our past, especially trauma, just completely dictates who we are now.
Right. The philosopher argues against what he calls etiology, cause and effect, looking back for the reason.
And instead, he pushes for teleology.
Which is more about purpose, our present goals.
Precisely. What goal does our current behavior serve right now? Not just why did this start?
They use that example of the friend who won't leave his room.
Yeah, that's a great illustration. The typical thinking is, oh, something bad must have happened. Some trauma is keeping him locked away.
Makes sense on the surface.
But the Adlerian take, the philosopher's point, is, well, maybe his goal right now is simply not going out.
Huh. So it's not that the past didn't happen, but the present goal is the active force.
That's the idea. The focus shifts from being a victim of the past to understanding the purpose your current state might be serving you. Maybe not going out, avoid certain anxieties or responsibilities.
Okay, so the takeaway is kind of look at the what for now, not just the why from back then.
Exactly. What purpose is this fulfilling in the present?
And this connects to emotions too, like anger, which feels pretty automatic most of the time.
Yeah, this one's a bit counterintuitive. The book suggests even strong emotions like anger can be fabricated.
Fabricated, like faked.
Not necessarily faked consciously, but more like a tool you grab quickly to achieve something.
Okay. Like the coffee shop example.
Exactly. The waiter spills coffee, then yells loudly.
Instead of just, apologizing quietly.
Right. The philosopher suggests the yelling isn't just pure emotion, it's a tool to make mother listen, maybe feel intimidated, and get the situation over with quickly on his terms.
So the anger serves a purpose control, maybe.
Control or ensuring compliance, yeah. It's a means to an end.
Which loops back to the trauma idea. Adler's basically saying past trauma doesn't have to equal present unhappiness.
He doesn't deny the impact of events, but he really stresses our power to interpret those events and, crucially, to choose our response now.
We have agency, even with a difficult past.
That's the core message. Your present choices matter immensely.
Which leads to another point they discussed wanting to be someone else. Like, if only I were like person Y, then I'd be happy.
Oh yeah, the young man really struggles with that. He sees someone else Y and thinks that's the key.
But the philosopher just shuts that down, doesn't he?
Pretty much. He argues that the root of that unhappiness isn't that you aren't person Y, it's that you don't like or accept yourself right now.
Oof. So the work isn't transformation into someone else.
No, it's self-acceptance. Starting where you are, wishing you were someone else just keeps you stuck hating who you actually are right now.
And this connects to that kind of challenging idea that your unhappiness is something you choose.
Yeah, that needs careful handling. It's not about blame. You don't choose difficult circumstances.
Right. It's not like you choose to have bad things happen.
No, absolutely not. But Adler suggests we do choose the meaning we assign to those circumstances. And we choose the lifestyle, the overall pattern of thinking and behaving we adopt in response.
So the interpretation and the response, those are the choices.
That's where the agency lies, according to Adler. We decide what meaning to give things and how we'll live moving forward.
So a question for listeners maybe, how much are we attributing things purely to the past versus looking at our current choices and interpretations?
That's a great reflection point. Where does your power really lie in this moment?
Okay, moving into the second night, the theme shifts, right, to relationships.
Big time. Adler famously said, all problems are interpersonal relationship problems.
Oh, wow, all problems. That's a bold statement.
It is. But the idea is, if you trace most anxieties, fears, or frustrations back, they often relate to how we connect or fail to connect with others.
Okay, I can see that. And this leads into inferiority feelings.
And it's crucial here. Adler sees inferiority feelings themselves as normal, universal even.
Like everyone feels less than sometimes.
Exactly. That feeling of I'm not good enough at this or they're better than me at that, it's part of being human, can even spur us on, motivation.
Wanting to improve.
And this is the key distinction. That feeling becomes a problem when it turns into an inferiority complex.
Okay, what's the difference? Feeling versus complex.
The feeling is just awareness. The complex is when you start using that feeling as an excuse. I can't do X because I'm not smart enough, talented enough from the right background.
So it becomes a shield, a reason not to act.
Precisely. It's using the feeling as justification for inaction or failure.
Got it. And then there's the flip side, the superiority complex.
Right. Which sounds positive, but Adler sees it often as a defense mechanism.
How so?
It's like putting on a front of being really strong or accomplished because you haven't actually dealt with your underlying feelings of inferiority. You're trying to cover them up.
Like the person who constantly boasts needs everyone to know how great they are.
That's a classic example. It's often masking insecurity, not genuine self-worth. It's compensating.
And this relates back to relationships because
Yeah.
viewing life as a competition.
Exactly. Adler argues that seeing others primarily as rivals, people to beat, just breeds unhappiness. It stops you forming real connections.
So we should see others as comrades, partners.
That's the goal, shifting from a competitive mindset to a cooperative one, seeing people as walking alongside you, not against you.
That feels like a much healthier way to approach things.
Definitely. And it connects to admitting mistakes, too.
Ah, yes. The idea that admitting you're wrong doesn't mean you've lost.
Right. Holding on to being right at all costs just fuels power struggles. It makes relationships about winning and losing.
Instead of finding solutions.
Exactly. Focus on resolving the issue constructively, not on proving your superiority or blaming the other person.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Then Adler lays out the tasks of life.
He breaks down life's main challenges into 3 areas: work, friendship, and love.
Work tasks, friendship tasks, love tasks.
Yeah, and the idea is that engaging healthily with all 3 is pretty essential for well-being. Avoiding one area often leads to problems cropping up.
It highlights how interconnected these parts of life are.
Totally. And then there's that intriguing idea of the red thread of fate.
Right, in relationships. What's that about again?
It's the idea that sometimes we kind of unconsciously contribute to creating the very relationship problems we complain about.
Like fulfilling some hidden purpose.
Something like that. Maybe we provoke arguments because the drama fulfills a need, or we choose partners who treat us poorly because it confirms a negative self-belief. It prompts self-reflection.
Definitely something to think about. Am I playing a part in this pattern?
What underlying goal might be driving this?
Okay, so then the third night, this is where it gets into freedom and not caring so much what others think.
Yeah, this is huge in Adler. The idea that real freedom comes when you stop constantly seeking recognition or approval.
And that provocative quote, being disliked is proof that you are exercising your freedom.
Powerful, isn't it? Because it goes against our instincts. We want to be liked.
Of course.
But Adler links that constant need for approval to a lack of self-confidence. If your worth depends on others' opinions, you're basically their prisoner.
You're living according to their rules, not your own.
Exactly, which leads directly to the concept of separation of tasks.
Okay, this seems really central. Explain that again.
It's fundamentally about boundaries. Don't interfere in other people's tasks and don't let them interfere in yours. Figure out whose task it is.
Whose responsibility is it, ultimately?
Right. The example used is parents nagging kids about studying.
A classic.
The parents mean well, but studying is ultimately the child's task. The constant nagging can actually backfire, preventing the child from developing their own motivation or sense of responsibility.
It becomes about pleasing or defying the parents, not about the studying itself.
Precisely. The parents are intervening in the child's task.
But this doesn't mean just abandoning people, right? Separation of tasks isn't about being cold.
No, not at all. It's about clarity. Knowing where your responsibility ends and another's begins, you can still offer support, be encouraging.
But you don't take over their job.
Exactly. Support without intervention, respecting their autonomy.
Because if you're always living to meet their expectations,
You're not living your own life. You're living someone else's script, sacrificing your own authentic self.
it's like those intertwined ropes they mentioned.
Yeah, that's a great image for unhealthy codependent relationships where boundaries are totally blurred. You can't tell who's responsible for what.
And the ideal is more, standing side by side.
Separate individuals maintaining a healthy distance, able to offer help when needed, but not entangled, respecting each other's space.
It requires trusting the other person to handle their tasks.
Absolutely. And it brings us back to that fear of being disliked.
Yeah, it's hard not to want approval.
It's natural, but Adler's point is the courage to be genuinely happy includes the courage to accept that not everyone will like your choices, especially when you start living authentically.
You can't please everyone if you're being true to yourself,
Pretty much impossible. And that sets us up for the fourth night.
which builds on this.
Yeah.
The courage to be disliked.
Yes. Starting with that separation of tasks, which helps foster this feeling of being able to be here, just accepting your place without needing external validation.
Okay, a sense of belonging that comes from within first?
Yeah, exactly. And from there, Adley introduces social interest. The Japanese term is kuitutai kankaku.
Social interests. Like community feeling.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Seeing others as comrades, feeling part of a larger whole. Adler considered this the ultimate goal and indicator of mental health.
Feeling connected.
Deeply connected, and it develops in stages.
Oh, what are they?
It starts with self-acceptance, that foundation we talked about. Then it moves to confidence in others, basically, trusting people, believing in the possibility of positive connection.
Okay, self-acceptance, then trust in others.
And finally, it culminates in contribution to others, actively doing things that benefit the community or the people around you.
So it's an outward movement, from self to trust to contribution.
Precisely. You can't really genuinely contribute if you haven't accepted yourself or if you fundamentally distrust everyone.
And the shift is from self-interest, like what's in it for me,
Yeah.
to social interest. What can I give? How can I contribute? It's a fundamental reorientation.
That sounds like a huge shift. It is. And feeling useful, that sense of I am beneficial to someone, is incredibly powerful for our sense of worth and belonging.
Even in small ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be saving the world. Just feeling like you make a positive difference to someone, somewhere, that builds your sense of value.
And this links to not being the center of the universe.
Mm-hmm. The philosopher points out, yes, you're the protagonist of your life story, but you're also just one member of the broader community.
Not the star of everyone else's show.
Right. Expecting the world to revolve around you just leads to disappointment when, inevitably, it doesn't.
So find your place within the community. Don't demand the community revolve around you.
That's the essence of it. Contribute, connect, belong.
Okay. And what about praise and criticism? How do they fit in?
Adler was wary of both, actually. He saw them as tools of vertical relationships.
Vertical, like hierarchical.
Exactly. One person up here, judging or evaluating the person down there. Praise implies superiority. Criticism does too.
So what's the alternative?
Building horizontal relationships based on equality, mutual respect, seeing each other eye to eye.
And instead of praise,
Encouragement, which is different. Encouragement focuses on effort, progress, acknowledging the person's struggle or contribution without judgment. It builds their confidence from within.
like saying thanks for your help instead of, you're such a good helper.
Sort of, yeah. Or, I see how hard you worked on that, rather than just, that's great. It affirms their capability and effort horizontally.
So striving for these equal horizontal relationships everywhere. Work, family.
That's the ideal, based on mutual respect, not hierarchy or judgment.
Okay, that leads us into the final night's discussion. The meaning of life, basically.
Yeah, and living in the here and now. It starts by looking at self-consciousness.
How being too focused on yourself gets in the way.
Right. Constantly worrying, how do I look? What do they think of me? Actually prevents you from connecting with that larger community, from feeling social interest.
Because you're stuck in your own head.
Exactly. The goal is to shift that focus outwards, from excessive self-awareness to genuine engagement with others and the task at hand.
And trust comes back in here, doesn't it?
Big time. They make a distinction between trust shinrai and credit shinyu.
Okay, what's the difference there?
Credit is conditional. It requires collateral, proof, guarantees, like a bank loan.
Makes sense.
But trust, in the Adlerian sense, is unconditional. It's choosing to believe in the other person's fundamental goodwill without demanding proof or conditions first.
That sounds risky.
It can feel that way, but Adler argues it's the necessary foundation for deep horizontal relationships and for social interest. You have to start with trust.
And this enables that contribution to others.
Yes, because if you trust others, you're more willing to contribute, to help, to engage. And that contribution, again, is key to feeling valuable. I am useful to someone.
It's not about being a martyr, though.
No, not self-sacrifice. It's about realizing your own worth through the act of contributing to the well-being of others. It benefits both.
Okay. And what about trying to be special? They revisit that.
They do. The philosopher suggests that constant striving to be special, either positively or negatively, often leads to unhappiness or problem behaviors.
So the goal isn't to be exceptional.
The goal, perhaps surprisingly, is having the courage to be ordinary.
Ordinary, that doesn't sound very inspiring.
Huh? Maybe not at first, but it means accepting yourself as you are right now without needing to be uniquely talented or tragically flawed to have worth. Just being you. There's freedom in that.
Letting go of the pressure to perform or stand out.
Exactly. And this ties into the final big idea. Life isn't a line, it's a series of jots.
A series of moments.
Right. We get so caught up in thinking about life as this linear journey towards some future destination, get the job, get married, retire.
The standard path.
Yeah. But Adler suggests focusing intensely on the here and now, living each moment, each dot, as earnestly and completely as possible.
Like the dancing analogy.
Perfect analogy. The purpose of dancing isn't arriving at a specific spot on the floor. The purpose is the dancing itself, the movement in each moment.
Wow. That's a lot to take in.
It really is. So bringing it all together for everyone listening, Adler's psychology, through these dialogues, really offers a path to empowerment, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels like it puts the control back in your hands. Less about being shaped by things.
And more about actively shaping your present and future.
By shifting focus, right?
Yeah.
Away from past causes, away from needing everyone's approval.
And towards your present goals, building those equal, respectful relationships and finding ways to contribute.
It's about seeing connections based on equality, not hierarchy.
And finding your value in being useful to others in that social interest.
So ultimate freedom isn't being detached, it's being free to be authentic.
Yeah, free to accept yourself, flaws and all. Free to have that courage to sometimes be disliked for your choices.
And free to really engage with life right now in this moment.
That's the heart of it, living fully in the here and now.
Okay, so a final thought to leave everyone with.
Yeah.
Maybe think about which of these Adlerian ideas really hit home for you.
What resonates most in your life right now? Is it the separation of tasks, the focus on contribution, the courage to be ordinary?
And what's maybe one tiny step you could take based on that insight? Just something small to try out.
And maybe ask yourself that bigger question. Are you living according to your own goals and values?
Or are you still letting others' expectations pull the strings, even subtly?
Yeah, it's definitely food for thought, an ongoing journey.